Oh, sorry, Grant Shapps is here. I thought he wasn't here. Grant Shapps is here, former Defence Secretary. He's at Conservative Party conference. Grant, very good morning to you.
Morning.
I mean, as a former Defence Secretary, you'll be familiar with an awful lot of the questions I'm about to ask you. I mean, obviously, very shocking times for Israel. I mean, I've taken a lot of calls this morning from people who are either in Israel or have got friends and family there. And it's a terrifying time because as much as they've got this incredible defence system, you know, some of the missiles do get through, some of the drones do get through. There's no suggestion that this is maybe the end of it. It could happen again.
Yeah, it's incredibly frightening, and actually, as you were just saying in the trails coming into this, all roads lead to Tehran. If you think about Israel, a country about the size of Wales, it's being attacked from the north from Hezbollah, it's being attacked from the south from the Houthis, it's being attacked from Gaza with rockets and Hamas, and from the east from Iran, and of course there are some Iranian-linked militias both in Syria and Iraq. Everything happening in the Middle East leads back to Iran, and they are really the pariah state that the world has just kind of fudged or ignored for too long. And you know, even the moderate Arab states, the countries like Saudi and the United Arab Emirates and Jordan and Egypt, they are all fed up to the teeth with the way that Iran goes about things. And Israel, of course, is going to have to respond to all of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, going back all the way to last October the 7th, which of course is almost a year away, almost a year ago, a lot of people said that Iran was behind the Hamas attack on Israel on the 7th because they didn't like what was happening in Saudi, they didn't like what was happening in the UAE, they didn't like the Abraham Accords, they didn't like the fact that Israel and many large sort of countries in the Middle East were getting on rather well. And this has kind of blown it all apart, hasn't it?
It's exactly what happened. And, you know, whether or not Iran directly ordered Hamas at that moment, Iran has funded, trained, provided the munitions to Hamas, to Hezbollah, to the Houthis. And so they are completely culpable and responsible, and now indeed are firing directly themselves for the second time this year. I was, as you said, Defence Secretary back in April. I ordered the RAF jets to intercept anything that was incoming over Syria or over Iraq, where we have an existing operation in the skies. And I am actually relieved to see Keir Starmer did the same thing last night, because I was concerned, given the mixed messages that this new Labour government has been sending on the whole Middle East, and in particular the arms embargo changes in recent weeks, that actually they were about to do the wrong thing there as well. So I'm relieved to see that. But I don't think this government has got this right, because there is only one democracy in the region. And do we stand for democracy, whether or not we believe in the individual government? And to be clear, I'm no fan of the Israeli government. I'm no fan of the British government. But I still think that Britain has a right to exist, and I think Israel does too.
Absolutely right. I was about to come on to that, because I raised this last night after Keir Starmer's press conference. Let's just have a quick look at what he said.
But I utterly condemn this attempt by the Iranian regime to harm innocent Israelis, to escalate this incredibly dangerous situation and push the region ever closer to the brink. It cannot be tolerated. We stand with Israel and we recognise her right to self-defence in the face of this aggression.
Yeah, all of which is all very well, except here's what David Lammy said a couple of weeks ago.
I have informed my right honourable friend, the Business and Trade Secretary, and he is therefore today announcing the suspension of around 30 from a total of approximately 350 to Israel.
So we stand with Israel. We absolutely respect their right to exist. We decry the attacks which are landing on them, raining on them from on high. But we're actually still suspending some licences so that they can't get the weaponry they want to fight back. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, does it?
Absolutely biggest belief. And as I said a couple of weeks ago, when they, a bit longer now, I think, when they made that announcement, It's the wrong move. And it's the wrong move because Israel is a democracy. They're an ally. They are under attack by different parties that actually the British government, the British Parliament specifies are terrorist groups like Hezbollah, like Hamas, the Houthis, of course, who've been disrupting all this international trade and firing on Israel. Like, what on earth was this government doing, withdrawing support from a small democracy, as I say, about the size of Wales in the Middle East? I'll tell you what they were doing. They were satisfying their own left wing, with whom they're terrified of, by the way, rather than doing the right thing, which sometimes takes being a little bit braver.
Yeah. Keir Starmer's off to Brussels today. Apparently he's going to meet up with Ursula von der Leyen. He's going to talk about resetting our relationship with the European Union and possibly even getting into lockstep, his words, not mine, with them. He doesn't have a mandate for that, does he?
No, he absolutely does not. But we know from all of that era, I mean, here's the guy who called for a second referendum at one point, for a renegotiation. So we know his game. We know what he wants to do. I think actually, by the way, I think this country is fed up with talking about things like Brexit, and we actually did get that done. It was one of the great successes of the last government. It's one of the things that Boris actually sorted out, and then Rishi with the Windsor framework for Northern Ireland. So that's behind us. To go and reopen it, I think, is ill-advised. And I'll tell you something else. We're the ones who've actually been growing faster. Look what's happening in Germany. They've had no growth at all. We've actually been out-pitching their growth. So this idea that it's somehow been incredibly damaging, I think it also turns out to be fundamentally untrue. Now, look, I think it's perfectly fine to have great relations and what have you. I would go to Europe and particularly on defence, try and make sure that we could work together. That's fine, but I don't think the world wants, I don't think the country wants to see us go back into the sort of bad old days, back and forth on this whole Brexit thing. And I'm suspicious of his motives because of the way he behaved before.
Do you feel, as I do, that we are in an era of kind of dishonesty, though, generally speaking? This government is so dishonest. It's been dishonest about, wardrobe gate. It's been dishonest about monies that have been paid to it. It's been dishonest about the £22 billion black hole. It's probably now about to be dishonest about Europe. Why can't they just tell us the truth?
Yeah, and actually, you always be suspicious of a wannabe government that has a single word to describe their entire manifesto, which was change.
Right.
And we kept saying, well, what does it mean? What's going to change? And actually, when we said things like they're going to tax your home, they're going to tax your pension, they're going to tax your car, people say, oh, you're just scaremongering. Well, guess what, folks? I mean, that's exactly what Keir Starmer's come in and is doing.
Well,
and if you think it's bad now, you wait till the budget at the end of October.
Well, listen, I mean, I didn't realise when they said change that we're going to be talking about change of suit or change of clothing, but that's another story. Final one for you. Big sort of speeches this afternoon. The Conservative Party leadership contest is going on. I think you're backing James Cleverly. What are you expecting to happen? Who are you hoping to get? What do you think is going to happen in terms of who gets on the ballot?
Yeah, well, look, I'm actually James Cleverly's chair of his campaign. I'll tell you one very, very simple reason. It was obvious to me right from the outset that there's one person who's got the experience, he's been Home Secretary, he's been Foreign Secretary, he's got the cut-through. The only person actually, when you ask the public, who would you think actually might do the best job, who you might relate to, it's always James Cleverly that came back. So actually all this party, my party, the Conservative Party, needs to do is look at that and go, if we actually want to win again, don't worry about who satisfies the party, worry about who actually has a chance of cutting through and delivering those messages in the country. And that's clearly James Cleverly. He's had a really great conference. A lot of the commentators around here are quite surprised. I saw that coming all along because I just think he is a great guy. He's a great communicator, but he's just very good at bringing people together. And I think that's actually really what's required in a time like this where, let's face it, the Tory party has been fractious. The country is particularly let down and disappointed by this new government. James Cleverly, brilliant person to bring the party and then the country together.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people said that to me, that actually Conservative Party conference mood has been a lot better than they thought it would be, and Labour Party conference mood was awful. It was just really
So the
gloomy.
journalists tell me, I wasn't there last week, but the journalists have said you wouldn't believe it. It was so gloomy. Of course, they had sort of wardrobe gate or glasses gate or whatever it was called going on, and there's great disappointment that they didn't have a plan even for their first 100 days in power. So, you know, this conference here, we're talking about ideas. You've got the leadership election going on. It's quite cathartic to see that happen, and excited to hear the speeches this lunchtime.
Sure. Grant, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Grant Shapps there, former Defence Secretary at Conservative Party conference up